Hi, this is the weekly chat for MAT 1100, and this week we're going to go over sections 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4. So in section 1.2, the objectives focus on using Venn diagrams and then also working with fractions, writing equivalent fractions, performing operations with fractions, and solving applied problems that involve fractions. Write the fraction 120 over 132 in lowest terms. Lowest terms means that it's going to be written in a form such that there's no more further common factors for the numerator and denominator. The easiest way to approach this is to do a prime factorization of the numerator and denominator. So for 120, it's divisible. Factors become 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 15. And then notice they're all prime numbers, so we call it prime factorization. For 132, it's 2 times 2 times 3 times 11. And what I look at is what are the common factors. So the common factors here are going to be 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 times 3, which is 12. So I can divide the numerator and the denominator each by 12 and get the fraction in lowest terms. So working with fractions, to add or subtract fractions, you must have a common denominator. Once you have a common denominator, then you add or subtract the numerators and simplify. To multiply, multiply numerators, then multiply denominators, then simplify. To divide fractions, we multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction, then simplify. Divide 10 divided by 7 divided by 120 over 13. So we're going to change this again. To divide fractions, we multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we're going to convert this to 10 over 7 divided by 120 over 13 becomes 10 over 7 times the reciprocal, which is 13 over 120. Multiply it. Now I notice it's not simplified. I can further simplify this. What are the factors of 130 and 84? 130 is 2 times 15 times 13, and 84 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. Common factor is 10. It simplifies to 13 over 84. And notice I could have done that here. Notice that the 10 would go into 120 12 times, and I would have saved myself having to do the simplification at the end. Solve this problem. Ariel receives $42 for working a full day at a hardware store. How much can she get for working 2/7 of one day? Think about what we know. We know she gets $42 for one day. So how much does she get for working 2/7 of a day? So 2/7 of 42 is what? Translate this into an equation. And we're going to let x be the amount she gets for the 2/7 of a day. So we translate this into 2/7 of becomes multiplied. 42 becomes equal to x. And then we're going to go ahead and solve it. Notice the 7 goes into 42 6 times. 2 times 6 is 12. So she gets $12 for working 2/7 of a day. This section introduces Venn diagrams, which are graphs or pictures that just compare and contrast sets. And in each Venn diagram there'll be a rectangle, and within it there'll be a circle for each of the sets. Where the two circles overlap represents items that belong to both sets. So in this case we're using a Venn diagram with circles to represent prime numbers, one circle, even numbers, the other circle, and we want to load the numbers 1 through 8 into the Venn diagram. So we know that 2 is both prime and even, so it goes into the intersection or the overlap. The other prime numbers are 3, 5, and 7. The other even numbers are 4, 6, and 8. And the number 1 goes in the background because it's neither prime nor is it even. Remember the definition of a prime number, it's divisible by itself and 1. In a freshman class of 2,000 students, at a particular college, 750 were taking either developmental math or reading during their first semester. Of these 750, 515 are taking both a developmental math and developmental reading, and 109 are taking only developmental math. Now in my math lab, they're going to give you for the first question several options as the correct Venn diagram. We're going to create a Venn diagram here. So we need to know how many sets are we working with here. We're actually working with 2. developmental reading and developmental math. Some students are taking both, so they know that those sets are going to overlap on the Venn diagram. It's going to look something like this. So the students that are taking both will go in this region here. And in that region, it told us there were 515 taking both, so we're going to go ahead and put that into the center region. The 109 are only developmental math, and they're going to go in this region right here. Now I need to know how many are taking only developmental reading. We know there's 750 that are taking one or the other or both, so this number plus the remaining number must equal 750. So I'm going to take 750, subtract 109, subtract 515, and I get 126. Now, the last thing I need to know is how many are taking neither course. We know there was a total of 2,000 students in the freshman class. The Venn diagram sets have already included 750, so we're going to subtract to get 1,250, which will go in the background here. Now we can answer some questions. How many students are taking developmental reading but not developmental math? 126. How many are taking neither course? 1,250. In section 1.3, we learned about plotting ordered pairs and also determining coordinates of a point. So here's a point on a Cartesian coordinate system: x-axis, y-axis, origin. This point here, we start on the horizontal direction, and we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, and then down 5. So the coordinates of this point are 3, -5. What quadrant is it located in? The quadrants start here: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is in quadrant number 4. Plot the point -3, -1 on the coordinate axes. So you start here, you go horizontally first, over 3, and down 1. And there's my point, and this one happens to be in quadrant 1, 2, 3. All right, in the last section for this week, we work with ratios. We want to interpret ratios and then determine if they're proportional. So write the ratio as a fraction in lowest terms, and we want to compare in, notice the units, inches. So we need to convert 5 feet to inches. We know there's 12 inches in a foot, so we multiply 5 times 12, or 60 inches. So here's my ratio: 60 over 8. 60 and 8 are each divisible by 4, so my simplified fraction is 15 over 2. Find the ratio and simplify. In this triangle, find the ratio of the shortest side to the longest side. Now, I set up the ratio as 5.6 to 14.8. I multiplied the numerator and denominator of each by 10 in order to get rid of the decimal, and I'll have whole numbers to work with. Let's go ahead and do that prime factorization again. So we know 56 is 8 times 7, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. 148 is 2 times 2 times 37. So my common factors here again are 2 times 2 are 4. So I'm going to divide the numerator and denominator each by 4, and my simplified fraction is 14 over 37. Write the ratio 28 over 40 with a numerator of 7. So this is what they're asking me to do. Write an equivalent fraction with a numerator of 7 instead of 28. So let's take a look at this. How do we get from 28 to 7? We divide by 4. So in the denominator, if I divide by 4, I can get x, which is going to be 10. I could also cross multiply and solve for x. 28x equals 40 times 7, and then go ahead and solve for x. You'll get the same answer. Find the best buy based on unit price for the cereal. So what does that mean? It means for each of the pricing here, we want to find out what's the unit price. So you're going to take the price and divide it by the quantity. So 348 over 18 gives me about a little bit more than 19 cents per ounce. Now I notice the second one must be cheaper because we've got the same price, but we've got more quantity. And indeed it is, a little bit more than 17 cents per ounce. And then $5.99 divided by 33 gives me a little bit more than 18 cents per ounce. So the best buy here is the second one. So hopefully this short video chat session will help you with your problems from sections 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4.